SpinePoint is what I'm going to talk about now. It's a medical device company developing next-generation spinal implants. There's a single owner. We've seed funded at $2 million, and we are pre-revenue. What I'm going to present are two differentiated product families, and it's 9 potential products for spine surgery. I'm a neurosurgeon, so I've been intimately involved in directing these products. We have 3 patents published, 1 is pending, and 2 of the products have already been prototyped. 1 will get a 510K in the middle of this year as well. We've assembled a team together, and I'm the neurosurgeon founder, but we have seasoned executives involved in healthcare. And amongst that group, we have 150 years of combined clinical and executive leadership. If you look at the spine market, it has significant revenue potential and has growth. The orthopedic market in the US is about $50 billion. I'm going to talk about the nuts and bolts that spine surgeons use, and they are cages and screws. So in the US, which is about 60% of the world market, cages are about a $2 billion market, and that's in the cervical spine and the lumbar spine as well. The average cage to produce is about $200, and this can be sold for about $3,000, so significant markup on cages. Pedicle screws, again, it's a core product for spine surgeons, and that's a $3 billion market. And the pedicle screws, again, a construct is 4 screws, 2 rods, and 4 set screws, and that's about $200. And again, the markup there is to $3,000 or $6,000. So there's a huge market for markup for spinal implants. If we look at that market again, looking back in the last 5 years and projecting 10 years ahead, it's about a $9 billion market. It's growing about 3% per year. Interesting thing about the spine market is 75% of the market is 5 companies. And these companies are not organically developing anymore. Most of it is by acquisition of smaller companies, and our ultimate goal would be acquisition as well. So let's look at the products. What I'm going to present to you is a fairly innovative pedicle screw, nothing like the screws that are on the market now, and a group of interbody cages. The top left one is the one that'll get 510K mid-2024. We'll start with the cage. So most implants that are used in the spine are the stiffness of titanium, and you can see that on the bottom there. Bone is much less stiff, and if you can match closer to the stiffness of bone, then you're much likely to get problems, and I'll show you what those problems are in a minute. And our implants are significantly less than the stiffness of bone and significantly less than the stiffness of titanium. So what's wrong with cages and screws as they are now? If you look at that top right diagram, there's a cage that's been placed. So when a surgeon takes out a disc, he'll place an interbody cage into that space, and that's a very common procedure. One of the challenges that happens is something called subsidence. Subsidence is where the cage sinks into the bone above and below. It's relatively common, and stiffness is one of the causes of subsidence. If you have a less stiff device, you will get less subsidence. The device that I'll show you is the lowest stiffness device that will be available on the market. Less subsidence means less clinical complications, less surgeries. The second issue that we get with spine surgery is we have a successful surgery, as you can see on the bottom right, and over time, the adjacent levels wear out. And this adjacent level degeneration is a common problem spine surgeons face. Patients end up getting more surgeries. The cause is multifactorial, but stiffness is one of them. And if you can reduce the stiffness of the implants down to native bone, you'll affect adjacent segment disease. And all of this means less surgery for patients. And spine surgery is becoming more common, not less common, as our population ages. This is the endoskeleton of the cage in a plastic mock-up, and it's got a Z shape and it cushions. It load shares, it reduces the impact on the adjacent discs, and again, it may improve patient outcomes. So we started with the design on the left hand, and that design, because it moves and it's micro motion, would need a PMA. So we went through 8 different iterations and arrived at the design on the right-hand side. And we've done all the preliminary FDA testing, and we submit in about 2 months. There's a cavity which can take whatever biologic as well. So this looks and smells like every cage that's on the market, however it cushions. And that micro motion is what reduces the stiffness in this cage, and that reduces subsidence, reduces adjacent segment disease. So if we look just at the cage, this is the lowest stiffness cage that will be available on the market, and it's the geometry of the Z shape which gives it that reduced stiffness, and that's patented. We have 2 patents protecting it and 1 pending. It's prototyped, it's tested, the design is frozen, we've done all the instrumentations for it. So for this particular design, we're on the home stretch in terms of getting FDA approval and then looking at commercialization. Now that same technology with the Z shape can then be adapted to 7 following products. And those 7 products can be used from the front of the spine, the back of the spine, the side of the spine, cervical or lumbar. It's the same intellectual property, but it's just been adapted to the other areas. So one of our key things that we want to do moving ahead is finish the prototyping of these devices and then bring them to market. Let's look at the screw. So most of us know what screws are, and everyone has put a screw into a wall. And as spine surgeons, we use screws to hold things together whilst the bone grows across. Typically, we place anywhere between 4 and 20 screws into a patient. If you look on those figures there, the top left one is a degenerative case. There's a scoliosis one with about 20 screws in there. The bottom one is a trauma surgery. The problem is that despite efforts to improve bone quality in our patients, we get screws pulling out. And on the right-hand side, you can see the screws are pulled out from the patient. And when the screws pull out, usually that's a poor clinical outcome and more surgeries. So all the screws on the market look basically the same. These are pedicle screws from the top 5 competitors. They all have differences only in their screw thread and only in their head, but otherwise they're the same. So I sat down and decided, how do you make a screw go around a corner? And how do you capture that bone in green there to improve pull out? And as you know, you can't make a screw go around a corner, but we managed to do that, and that's the intellectual property. On the left side, you can see a standard screw. On the right side, you can see the bear claw, which is our proprietary screw. We know the more you triangulate screws, the better the pull out. So the more we could get this screw to the center, the more likely we were to reduce pull out. Our original design was this one. It's a 2-piece. Surgeons are pretty used to using something called a Lenke probe to insert screws. And so it's close to what surgeons already do. And then they thread that outer sleeve over the nail. We evolved over time, and this is our final design here. The distal part has much more of an interference fit to, again, reduce screw pull out and improve that bone screw interface. We've done initial testing with the construct, 4 screws, 2 rods. Top left is a standard set of screws. That's a force displacement curve. On the bottom is our device, and there's a 3 to 4 times difference in the screw pull out when we compare those two as well. So there's a significant difference between these 2 devices. So the spine point screw is like nothing else that's out there in terms of pedicle screw fixation. The patent is protected, the IP is unique. It has game-changing pull-out strength. It's navigation and robotic ready, and it can be adapted to any screw head or any thread, so it allows for licensing opportunities with the bigger companies. So in summary, we're $2 million in, and our target market is that $9 billion spine surgery implant market. There's 2 separate products, and they're both unique. There's interbody cages, and there's a family of these devices, with the first one coming online this year and another 7 devices to follow. Then we have that modular pedicle screw technology, which has significantly different pull-out characteristics to standard technologies. 2 of the products are tested, prototyped, ready for FDA submission. The IP is protected. The gross margins are very good. It should be profitable by the end of year 2 on our pro forma. We have the team assembled to do this, and we're looking for Series A funding primarily to finish the products and to commercialize it. Thank you very much for your time.